Hi everybody, and welcome back to your next episode of Adobe DimensionCC and how to do things, how to make things happen in DimensionCC and build your own stuff. This one is basically a shorter version of the previous video on how to create and import your own models. The video was kind of long, it was like 20 minutes, sort of rambled on some stuff, and I kind of figured it out how I went along. So this one's a lot quicker. So, let's just start off here and jump right in. How to make a model. Alright, so you're going to want to go open up Photoshop. I've already got it open with my own file, 5x5. It doesn't matter what your settings are, so just kind of like make a new layer here. I'm going to use my lasso tool just to make a random shape. This isn't a video on how to make something look like a good shape. It's just how to make something imported into dimensions and then how to work with that shape in dimensions. So I'm just going to fill this in using my brush tool. Yeah, it's a really weird shape. So that's my shape, and I'm just going to kind of cut it in half a little bit with my square marquee, the rectangle marquee. Do that, and just give it sort of like a nice flat lid, give it a better flat bottom. Alright, so this is my fucking shape. I don't know, it's something. So now we just got to make it 3D, and it's going to be in here. But before I do that, because for some reason with the things how they're oriented, I'll explain later, we're going to want to flip it because we want it to rotate from the correct side. So you want whatever edge that's the outside of the bottle be on the left side. Come over here to 3D layers, 3D extrusion, and click create. It's doing something. Things are happening. So now that the extrusion is done, it should look something like this. You should get some layers like that. You want to make sure that your properties right here is open. You're going to want to come down to Shape Preset and scroll all the way down to this one. And it's going to rotate it on its right axis, unless your settings are different. I have mine set to the right axis, which you can change here. And I'm just going to set this to 0. Now I'll show you why that's important in a second. So basically this is our shape. So how we get it into InDesign is we go to Export 3D Layer under the 3D thing. Change your 3D file to an OBJ and click OK. And I'm saving mine on my desktop and calling it whatever. And I click Save. It saves, and you get all these extra files. So we're just going to minimize this. And now we need to go into Adobe Dimensions. So let's open Adobe Dimensions. I've already got one open. And we're going to click Command-I to import. And you're just going to find your file and click Open. It's going to drop it in. It's probably not going to drop it in on a correct place, so if you click F on your keypad, it'll center on whatever's selected. So this is your shape. You can put stuff on it. You make it glass, metal, all that kind of stuff. It's there. You can work with it. It looks pretty good. The metal looks kind of nice. Let's see what a nice render sort of looks like. Yeah, that looks great. But this is where things get tricky, is if you use anything that has transparency on it, you'll get some weird things happening here, and I want to show you how to fix it. Look at that. See that line down the middle? That's what you don't want. I'm going to show you how to fix this. So let's just delete that and re-import it. Command-I, select the file, and hit OK. Alright, so you want to go to the layer that you just imported, open it up, and you have all these little files here. The one that's important to you is Layer 1 Extrusion Material. Everything else can go invisible. Let me show you why. Because if I make that invisible, woo, look at that. That's what you want to get rid of. Okay. So, and it doesn't go away until we make all these other 4 layers gone. So just drop the opacity to 0 on all of them, and then it's invisible. So come back up here, make the opacity 100%, and let's just do something transparent again. Beer. People like beer. I like beer. I'm a beer drinker. So, let's see how that renders out. That's how it used to look. I'm just waiting for it to fix itself. And as you can see here, it only changed that one layer. You want to make sure that you have that selected, just the extrusion layer when you put on the thing, because otherwise you're going to get the same problem. There we go. That looks a lot better. Way better. Now again, if you didn't have just that inner exclusion layer clicked and you had the whole group clicked, even if you made them invisible, odds are, yeah, it still creates that little wall. I'm just going to do Command Z to undo that. Command Z again. Okay. And yeah, so basically, I don't know how to delete these, but just make all those 4 layers completely invisible. It's just the extrusion layer that you want to work with. Alright, so now I'm going to show you why it was important to have the axis flipped on that side. So I'm going to make it a few different files from our PSD file we had, opening up the PSD, and I'm just going to go back in here. To this spot, you want to be looking at those presets again. And first thing we're going to do is we're just going to increase the extrusion. So I want you to see what that looks like if you just make the extrusion anything but 0. So we're going to save it again as a wavefront OBJ. I'm going to call it whatever 2. That's fine. And then we're going to do another one. Okay, so I've gone back to our original layer before we applied the 3D. And basically what I'm going to do to show you why you want to have it flipped on this side is I'm going to flip it back to the other side, how we had it originally drawn. And now I'm going to go back over to 3D and do the same process that we did before. Properties, make sure that's open. Come down to that setting in your shape presets. Let's flip that over to the left and try 0 again. Yep. Alright, and then we'll export that as another OBJ. Whenever I've tried it like this, it's always given me problems. And this will be whatever 3. So I just kind of want you to see the problems. It always has a hard time rendering out like textures. So we're going to go back to DimensionCC. We're going to open DimensionCC. And then let's just import all of those things. So we're going to hit Command-I. We're going to do the first one, which is our control. That's the correct one. Command-I, F to center. Command-I again. Import the second one. Command-I again. And import the third. So as you can see, this is the one that we had it flipped on the other side. This layer here, we gave it the wider, other than that we didn't have it set to 0, and then this one was our control. So let's go back to these layers, make these 4 layers invisible. So I can show you what the differences are and what happens if you don't set it correctly. So again, this is the correct one. We're going to put on a transparent layer of some kind here. And that's already looking correct. Now we're going to come over to the next one. This one's a little wider. So we're going to make those flat layers again invisible. Very tedious, I know. Come back up to this layer and click here. So as you can see, because it wasn't set to 0, there is an internal space that's happening. It's like a tube that you've created. So if you don't want there to be a tube in the middle, you need to have your settings to 0 in the Photoshop document. Now we're coming over to the next one. And this one, you know, it's basically reading it as though it were the inside of the bottle. Like it's inverted oppositely or something. So it's not really going to render any of your skins correctly. It might render a few correctly, but most of them aren't going to work out. So let's put beer on this one. Might even look fine with beer, I don't know. Oh, see? Yep, it doesn't render it. It turns it black. It's considering this is like, it's the inside interior of the object, so it can't render it. As opposed to if we went to the other ones, which were flipped on the right side, it is rendering it correctly. We can map things. This obviously has the tube in the middle. You want a tube. It's a good, easy way to get a tube in there. And of course, there's the correct one. No problems. It's looking good. It works well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. you know. Got all kinds of glass in here. Let's check out some of the environments. Metallic texture, I don't know. You can import your own environments. I don't really mess too much with those. I do a lot of external use. But yeah, that's the whole thing. You're welcome. Just matching all this. Some good news is that Adobe DimensionCC, they are actually planning to allow people to create in Dimensions, create their own things, and or edit pre-existing files, cut parts off of them, you can intersect two objects and have them cut off to create a new object. There's going to be a lot of ability to create your own files in this program, as well as there's going to be a higher compatibility with other programs, but it's just great to know that they're planning on making this available to build inside the program itself. So that looks kind of stupid. But yeah, that's basically it. So thank you for tuning in. Gosh, this is really slow on a laptop. So, if you guys have a desktop, this probably doesn't run so slow. Yeah, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. It always helps me out. Thanks. You have a great day. Have a wonderful day. You're a wonderful person. And just keep doing you. Do the whole thing that you are. That's what's great. Oh, yeah. All right.